Hello and welcome, everyone, to episode 15 of The Faithful and the Questioner. My name is Max. I am joined by none other than the little sister, Sammy. Sammy, that's
That's me.
you. How's it
That's
going?
me. Hello, and welcome.
Things going okay in Canada? You said it's heating up a little bit.
It's supposed to get up to over 10 degrees this week in Celsius. So that's actually getting pretty warm.
How many
But
is
today
that
it was minus 18.
American degrees?
In American freedom units, that would be a 50 degrees, I would say.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Oh my God, I'm still jealous.
I'm a little jealous of your 70-degree weather all winter in Colorado, but there have already been fires, so that doesn't bode well for the summer.
And you should also be jealous of the United States hockey team, but I promise so we don't have to go into that right now.
Too soon.
Too soon. Hey, the man lost his teeth. If there was any blood, it was on our players. But
I did watch SNL last night, which was very funny. And they had the women's and men's hockey team on SNL. And yeah, I liked the guy's missing tooth. It was very authentic.
Dude's a badass.
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't be too petty, at least not about that, at least not on camera. You know, I probably will as soon as we go offline here. But the focus of today's discussion is not only Jesus, but the next portion of his Sermon on the Mount. So this is part two of what I think will be a 3-part series. Is that right?
Yes, the Sermon on the Mount, at least as recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, is 3 chapters. So we'll just do 1 episode per chapter. So this is chapter 6, which precedes chapter 5, as discussed last time.
Let me check your math on that. Yeah, you're good.
Good. Glad I can count.
Okay, yeah. So where do we start on this?
Well, just to kind of recap where we left off, the Sermon on the Mount is Jesus's longest recorded sermon. It appears in certain parts of it appear in all 4 Gospels, but it's most recorded in detail in Matthew. And it's kind of where you go to find the heartbeat of Jesus, if you will, or the things that he chose to emphasize that were important to tell this large group of people, which included a multitude of people. So not necessarily one specific demographic, but people that you can imagine kind of range from like the very common person to the more elite person. And so this is a message that is still very relevant and things that he found important to talk about to that group of people. So I think it's a really straight shot to figure out what Jesus cared about. And so I enjoyed talking about it.
Perfect. Well, now I think you already hit on a lot of this, but.
Yeah. Jesus's main point in the Sermon on the Mount is kind of sharing what the kingdom of heaven is like, the kingdom of God, whatever you kind of want to call it, like what his coming to earth represents and how to live out this kingdom mindset in your day-to-day world. And that just kind of means like kingdom as in like the reign of God, and then that being not just a right now thing, but a forever timeline of the world that we currently live in, as well as the restored world that one day will be, and kind of bridging those 2 things.
Gotcha. So he probably has a pretty good idea of what
he's been on both sides of that bridge, so I think that's a good idea.
Okay, this might be a dumb question, but like, does he know what hell looks like? Because heaven has always been, right? Like heaven, in theory, has existed longer than the earth. Has hell always existed? I kind of forgot where we stood on this.
Yeah, so I think I don't know that much about this. My understanding, which note that I am not a theologian or have any sort of degree or background in theology, but my understanding is that when Lucifer was like cast out of heaven along with a third of the angels, that they were like kind of banished to hell. is the story. So yeah, I think you are correct in that existed afterwards. The question of has Jesus experienced hell, I would say that depends on your theology about like what Jesus experienced on the cross, because that's a very complicated theology that I don't know that much about. And I don't necessarily have a position on it, but I think some people believe that like Jesus on the cross experienced the full weight of like the torment that should have been on us as sinful humanity. And since he took that on himself, that he experienced that in its fullness. And some would believe that he like experienced that for the 3 days that he was dead. So I'm not going to say like where I stand on that, because I don't really know what happened within those 3 days, but that is
Okay.
what some would say.
And how long did it take? I have a follow-up to this that's kind of crude, but it's also kind of sort of legitimate. How long did the crucifixion take again? We talked about this at one point, but I forgot. Was it a multi-day thing, or was it?
I believe it started in the morning on Friday, like Good Friday, and then by afternoon he was dead. And then
Okay, I thought it was
3
longer.
days was like included Friday, Saturday, and then like Sunday morning was when he rose. So if you're going by hours, I guess it wasn't exactly 3 days.
Okay. The follow-up was going to be, and not to make this sound bad to Jesus, but we're saying that's kind of him experiencing hell, but that also wasn't unique to him. Like, weren't there people being crucified right next to him?
Yes, crucifixion was not unique to Jesus. This was
Yeah.
a common way that Rome, I believe, would punish and kill criminals.
Can you
So-
imagine? He was.
Yeah,
They sent him into the Colosseum instead. That would be.
that too. The
That would
Romans were crazy, man.
What was that?
But interesting.
I want to see how he fares against Russell Crowe.
Are you not entertained?
But he'd probably do pretty good. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to be crude in that way, but I kind of want to understand what you meant by that statement.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Now I'm curious about this, all this theology around. There's a specific term for it, but about what Jesus was experiencing within that time. Anyway, I will look into this. I am curious, but yeah, there's different positions on your question of did he experience hell. I don't know. I'm sure he knows what it's like because he's God and he knows everything. But anyway, that's a different.
yeah, we can talk about Russell Crowe in another episode. It's all good.
I don't really understand the connection to Russell Crowe, but okay.
Have you never seen the movie Gladiator?
Oh, you're talking about Gladiator. I'm sorry. I have seen Gladiator.
Gosh, Sam.
Yeah.
I know we finally got you in The Lord of the Rings, but you gotta. Yeah, when I talk about Russell Crowe, I'm usually talking about Gladiator.
Is that what you were named after?
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Whoa.
I used to have a speech memorized, but I
Wow.
butchered it a little bit there. I left out a sentence. I got to go back and remember. Anyway,
Okay, anyway, gear shift. Beginning of chapter 6, verse 1. Do you want to talk about the first chunk?
we can't keep talking about Gladiator. No. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, cool. So I'll just read the first chunk, which is verses 1 through 4, titled the heading in my Bible is Giving to the Needy. So it says, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you."
Okay, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, what's your main like synopsis of what's that's saying?
Well, the YouTubers who like go out and pretend to care about people by like giving them an iPhone and filming it and then posting it online and then going offline and then like taking it back from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff irritates me.
Yeah, it's pretty not cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I think to some extent we might all be a little guilty of it, but I certainly believe it. When you do a good deed, you don't do it to be seen. I think we've talked about in previous episodes. It kind of defeats the purpose.
Right. That's the point of a good deed.
So I can appreciate that. I think that's a good lesson.
Yeah. I think you're right in saying that a lot of these things apply to all of us to some extent, and it's a good check of like, what is my motivation? And obviously he's still saying, yes, like by all means give to the needy. Like that is what I'm asking you to do, but doing it for the sake of your own self-glorification is not the point. And I think not only with giving to the needy specifically, but later on in this passage and then throughout scripture, he's kind of like, I don't care about like your meaningless, if you're going through these motions, but it's kind of meaningless to you and not for the right reasons, then what's the point? So
yeah, I'm with you. Given secret, don't go posting all your shit online.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's exactly what Jesus said back in the day. Don't post it.
super relevant. Mm-hmm. I learned that I was listening to a podcast with some Mormons on it, and it wasn't, they were just like guests in the podcast, and they were talking about like their mission and Mormonism in general. And something that I learned about Mormonism is that like they still consider themselves Christians, but they have these like additional prophets, and they believe that there are still like modern day prophets they hear from God that tell you how to like engage in modern day stuff. And so modern day prophets would talk about things like how to handle phone usage or things like that have blossomed into rules that Mormons now follow, like no alcohol, no caffeine, no, this show, that show kind of thing, comes from these like modern day prophets that have put this rule on these things. And personally, I'm not a Mormon, so I disagree with that. But I think the words of Jesus, though they aren't specifically saying, hey, don't go, take a video of you giving money to somebody just so you can get more follows on Instagram. Like you can tell that that's the meaning of what he's saying. And so these words that he's speaking are very timeless in that sense, and they don't require necessarily somebody explicitly telling you what to do and not to do, because a checklist of do's and don'ts is not Jesus's point. It's like getting to the heart of these things.
That's great. You did lose me a little bit after you said Mormons don't drink caffeine.
They don't.
Like, is it a sin to them, or do they just not? I mean, I think
there's a whole like health code that they have to follow.
We got 3 drinks going, so I said I probably won't have to pee during this, but well,
yeah. Welcome to road trips with Max growing up.
Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi.
We had to stop and pee every 30 minutes.
I gotta stay hydrated, and I gotta drink
water is one of the drinks.
Yeah, I'm like when I talk about my drinking problem, I'm really referring to the same problem as the guy had on Airplane.
Okay.
Anyway, no, that's
Mormons don't have caffeine because it's a fair thing, and I think like you could be compelled to do the same thing from reading the Bible if you're like, this substance is addictive, and therefore I'm just going to shy away from it for wisdom's sake, so that I'm not like, slave to it. But to project that as a whole like rule, cold turkey, I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, do they take Tylenol?
I don't know.
Doesn't Tylenol have caffeine in it? Caffeine's good for headaches.
I don't know. Yeah, go ask a Mormon. We should have do we have any Mormon friends that we could have?
I think I certainly used to, and then I think you know what happened there.
Yeah.
He did some very, 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 very sinful things.
Indeed. He did.
But I'm sure we could, I think between the two of us, you and I can track down a Mormon.
Yeah.
That's
Track down. I mean, they're not very hard to find, but honestly, I don't want to take advantage. But I am certain that like if we encountered a Mormon and went up to them and were like, "Hey, do you want to be on this podcast?" They would say yes immediately with like no questions asked. So keep your eyes peeled. But I had some friends in college that would like befriend Mormon missionaries just to like hang out with them, and ask them more questions.
Yeah, they're super friendly. I think it'd be really funny if God answered our prayers right now and you just hear like a knock on your door.
That would be funny. It's a little cold and dark out, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting things and a lot of like things that I generally respect. Like it's good, like having self-control is good, and
self-control, discipline, yeah. But I mean, geez, no caffeine at all. One of the guys I work with does not drink caffeine. I have no clue.
How does he work?
Well, that's the freaking thing. Like he's the youngest guy there. He's the guy straight out of college. Good guy, don't get me wrong. But you compare that, like, kind of the innocent guy coming into a job like this, and then compare that to the VP here, who's a great guy. I like him, but one day I saw him pouring Red Bull into his coffee.
Oh no!
It's like you can kind of see the difference.
The difference, yeah.
Which is actually funny because that guy I think is very Christian, by the way.
The one with the Red Bull and the coffee.
Yeah,
he's
at least Catholic, or he has some very Christian beliefs, but it's kind of funny to see that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, if you want to not drink caffeine as a personal choice because you think that's best for you, I love it. I don't love like rules that you have to follow without quite knowing the meaning of the rules. I like it when the rules have enough enough meaning and logic and wisdom behind them that you're compelled to follow them out of your own will. And I think this is a lot of what the Sermon on the Mount is outlining. Like this rule that you are familiar with, like giving to the needy, or as we talked about previously, like, things like don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't like do this. Like you've heard all these things, but here's the heart behind it so that you can hopefully understand and appreciate and do above and beyond what the law asks of you because you really know what the heart behind the law is.
Agreed.
So, anyway, good old Sermon on the Mount. All right, the next bit might sound kind of familiar to you as we grew up occasionally going to Catholic church. This is not explicitly Catholic church stuff. This is what Jesus taught. So this is in Christian Bibles, Catholic Bibles all over. And it's the Lord's Prayer. So in verse 5, I'll just read. This kind of continues on the theme of like hypocrisy, like he just talked about in the previous section about giving to the needy. But he continues and says, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on their street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. This then is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we have also forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins." Ooh. Lots of stuff in there.
Yes, let's unpack that.
Yeah, let's. Do you have any observations from the first chunk before the prayer?
Well, I mean, I think what you're getting at is the same as when you go to help a person in need. You don't do it to be seen. You shut the hell up and you do it for yourself and to connect with God, not for anything beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, Jesus says, these people have already received their reward in full. Like, by doing that, your reward is recognition. Your reward is, being seen by others. It's being admired. It's having status. All those things, if you're doing that, there you go, your reward's over. And what he's saying is like, I have so much more for you, and the reward that like that really comes from that I give you for that is so much greater than the recognition of other people whose perceptions just are fleeting. But in like the kingdom of heaven, and thinking about this very long-term transformative thing of like God's reign on the world and all the goodness, like that reward is what we're really seeking, something long-term, something eternal, rather than like the fleeting and fickle recognition and approval of other people.
Not to dwell on this, I know we've had similar discussions. There's the line, you might have counted on me to point this out, but, and forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors, and lead us not, etc. Part about debt, are we talking literal, or is this like the same way you kind of forgive somebody who transgressed against you?
That is a great question, and I know that this book has things to say about that, and I haven't read it yet. Let me quickly see if I can find an answer to that, or at least a comment on it, because I think it's both. I think it's both like physical debt as well as like emotional or justice related debts.
Because I know, and I forgot if we were going to talk investments on this episode or not, but I know we have said in the past that like Jesus did believe in like growing your money and wealth and loaning money and earning interest and things like that. Right? So he wasn't opposed to like earning interest from a loan. And I mean that as like a literal statement, right? Like, wasn't that?
He actually was opposed to interest on loans.
Oh, really?
Yes. Let me fact check that. So a couple comments, and I think that we should do an episode about money so that I can like look into this more, because Jesus says a ton about money. But in the Old Testament, there was this thing called Jubilee, and it was a celebration that happened every, I know it sounds kind of silly and like,
no, it's not that it sounds silly. It's that there's an episode of South Park about it.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty familiar.
There's an episode of South Park.
Yeah, it's the one where the little Jewish kids get kidnapped by a bear in the forest, and then they got to go track them down.
That's it, you goddamn stupid bareface. Jesus, hell, we got another squirt!
Mommy.
It's
Was
really
this a Christmas episode?
no, it was a Jewish episode.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this is a Jewish festival because Old Testament
Yeah.
Jewish, right? And so every 7 years, it's like slaves are released from their contracts, debts are forgiven. Like you couldn't have a debt really lasting more than 7 years. So that's kind of interesting. But let me just confirm, what does Jesus say about interest on loans? Because he's like, as a statement that I can say with confidence, he is adamantly opposed to oppressing vulnerable people. So if interest is a means of further oppressing somebody who clearly is in need because they're asking for a loan, then he's against that. So oppressive interest would definitely be a no. But let me just confirm that.
While you're doing that, I could talk about that. That's a very, very different statement. And debt instruments and interest on loans is a very, very important tool in capital markets. But to your point, like I very much believe in loans, and I'm super capitalist, but it's a very important tool, and some people need loans and businesses need it, and the whole reason they do it is so they can be more productive with it and hopefully pay it off. There is a political connection that I would want to get into at some point, but it's not something I'll bring up on this episode. Potentially you and I could discuss it separately. But I think it also reinforces your point. But what did you find anything there on
Yeah, so there's a few things. So I think that these statements are more to like the average person and not necessarily Jesus talking to a bank or whatever the equivalent of a bank was at the time. So Leviticus, which is the book that contained most of the like Jewish laws, says, if your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you shall support him as though he were a stranger and a sojourner, and he shall live with you. Take no interest from him or profit, but fear your God, that your brother may live beside you. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor give him your food for profit. And then another says in Exodus, if you lend money to any of my people with you who is poor, you shall not be like a money lender to him, and you shall not exact interest from him. Deuteronomy, you shall not charge interest on loans to your brother, interest on money, interest on food, interest on anything that is lent for interest.
What's Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy is another Old Testament, like part of the Torah, so part of like the Jewish.
And what's the name of that race in Alaska with the snow dogs?
Iditarod.
Okay, sorry.
That's funny. They do sound similar. Psalm 15:5. Who does not put out his money at interest and does not take a bribe against the innocent? He who does these things shall never be moved. What?
Yeah, actually, can you repeat that?
I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna look this in my Bible because I don't understand that.
Can you say it out loud again so I could
Yes.
potentially interpret it?
Psalm 15:5. Okay, I'm just going to read the whole thing because it's kind of short and maybe it'll give some context. So it says, Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? The one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to a neighbor and casts no slur on others, who despises a vile person but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts and does not change their mind. And then here's the verse about interest. Who lends money to the poor without interest, who does not accept a bribe against the innocent. Whoever does these things will never be shaken. So it's praising the person that gives generously without interest.
Okay, so but it is generally saying just don't take advantage of people.
Yes. Yes. So in general, it sounds like when lending to a neighbor, no interest. I think there are some things that say that you can do it for like a foreigner residing in your country, but that seems a little sketchy.
Do you know who Dave Ramsey is?
Of course I know who Dave Ramsey is.
Oh, actually.
Which is fair, because I don't know a lot of people that you reference.
Well, also because he's a finance guy. He's not like a finance bro. But the
he's not a finance bro, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
he's very reasonable, and I can understand what he's saying. So,
ironically, as I think you kind of sort of understand about me, is like even though I'm a finance bro, I don't particularly appreciate the finance bro culture. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But he's a finance genius, and he's Christian, and he talks about things like that on his show and like how it connects. And he'll talk about like lending to his kids. Mm-hmm. And I think actually for him, I think his position is like he never ever lends money to his kids or family like as a loan. He'll gift them money, but not, you don't want to put someone that close to you in debt to you either.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of his messages about that where like that just creates
it's really
shift in the dynamic of the relationship that makes one of you like above the other.
Exactly. And I don't like that feeling. And that's part of the reason, like any friendship I have is so much more important than any amount of money. Mm-hmm. And like, as much as my friends and I love talking business and entrepreneurship and ideas, I struggle with the idea of like ever going into business with a friend because it puts so much awkward tension on the relationship and there's more important things. So, yeah. But, no, it's a good point. We strayed a little bit there from the name Lord's
Prayer. I was like, how did we get here?
But
about you're asking about debts, forgiving
that's how it
our
originally started. So was there anything else we should hit on here?
forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. So I generally interpret that to mean because that has other words. So like you might be familiar with like forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Yeah, that's what Aunt May was saying right before the Green Goblin came in and smashed her window. Do you remember that?
Yes, she was praying, and then the Green Goblin just.
And then he said, "Finish it."
Finish it! Finish it! Evil!
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty messed up. What the heck?
Well, he's the bad guy. What'd you expect?
Yeah,
The Drake Bell version of that movie was pretty good, though.
I was thinking about that. That was called Dragonfly, right?
I mean, the movie sucked. That movie sucked. But it was like such a good suck. Like it was still really
Yeah.
funny.
Yep.
Anyway. Stop taking us off track here.
I wish that I had done more research here.
Do you want to move on?
Okay, I'm just gonna read this in case it says anything good, but I haven't proofread this. Do you want to hear? What it says?
Yeah, this is how I do things. Let's do
Okay,
it.
so this is in relation to the if you forgive others your trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you, and the like as we forgive those who trespass against us. So this says, it is a common human assumption that the violator of the rights of others must ask for forgiveness before the wronged party can be expected to accept the apology and grant forgiveness. When the wrong is huge, this is often thought to be impossible. The cry, never forget and never forgive, has echoed many times down the corridors of history. But here Jesus asks the person wronged to forgive the other responsible party for the wrongdoing, even when there is no confession of guilt. Is this really possible? Can the Christians of South Sudan forgive the Sudanese Muslim government for 40 years of murder and mayhem, which he's going into other cultural higher level necessities for forgiveness. But basically, it sounds like this is more some wrongdoing rather than a physical, like monetary debt, like you were imagining. But the thing that really probably rubs people the wrong way in this prayer and the boldness in what Jesus is saying is that in this instance, the prayer is like, God, you've like forgiven us already. And the initiating party is the one who's been wronged rather than the other way around. So to not withhold forgiveness because that person didn't give you the apology or whatever that was owed to you. So as demonstrated by Jesus in forgiving us, we are to also forgive those who have wronged us, even if they don't ask for forgiveness.
Okay. I'd have to probably read that again myself to fully wrap my head around it, but I think I get your point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, debts, the word debts is used. There's in the Lord's Prayer as written in the book of book of Luke very slightly. So he says, forgive us our sins, for we ourselves forgive everyone who is indebted to us. Debts, trespasses, etc., etc. So anyway, yeah. Does that make sense? Any rebuttals?
Well, the cynical part of me is just there are some things that I don't think can be forgiven, but maybe it's like a very extreme level. Yeah. And even
what's your definition of forgiveness?
That's a good question. Leaving it behind you without ever holding it against the other person. I mean, it's extreme. I don't know. Do you have like a hardcore definition that maybe I could?
I agree with your statement about like not holding it against them, in the sense that I think I would define it personally as like you are removing whatever it is they owe to you. So like if it's something physical like money and you like forgive it, you're like, okay, you don't owe me that money anymore. But if it's like you hurt me and you like owe me an apology, and it's saying, okay, like even if you don't apologize, like I still don't have ill will for you, and I don't feel like you owe me an apology in order for me to like not have ill will against you. Or yeah, like just forgiving, kind of, we talked about last week, the like eye for eye thing.
Yeah.
How that was a means to like limit the amount of pushback that one could have against somebody that had wronged them. So like if you killed one of my chickens, I could kill one of your chickens, and then we'd be even, kind of thing. So me forgiving you in that instance would be, oh, I'm not going to kill your chicken, kind of thing. But harder to do on like a more emotional level to define it that specifically. Yeah,
I mean, I think there's some really bad shit, like I already referenced, and I'm obviously not going to use any names, but like a certain old friend who did something really bad. Like, how can I possibly? I know, like, I'm not going to say exactly what it was to a big open internet audience, but yeah, those sorts of things. Like, how can you forgive that? Or there was an event recently where a man was violently murdered, and the wife is a wonderful Christian woman, and she said to the murderer, "I forgive you."
Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, that takes some strength that I don't know if I have. I don't know how I could ever forgive somebody for doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But alas, there are better people than I.
Right. And I think it's helpful from it's a hard thing to wrap your head around, kind of this tension of like God's limitless forgiveness, but also his justice. And like if he sees something like murder, something awful, like it's not like he makes light of that. Like that's still very, very serious and has a serious consequence. And so it's not like God's a pushover that's like, yeah, do whatever, like I'll forgive you. And I don't think he asked that of us either. And so that's kind of the difficult thing with this passage is
but he still will forgive anything.
Yes.
So it's like this really weird.
Yeah, and it's hard because I was just thinking how this book was saying that in this instance, it's like you forgiving somebody even if they haven't asked for forgiveness. But like a pretty pivotal part of our relationship with God is the act of like repentance and saying like, God, I have wronged you and I'm sorry. And I like ask for your forgiveness. And that's kind of like part of whatever the traditional salvation prayer, whatever you want to call it, like that's generally an aspect and something that is involved in like an ongoing conversation between a Christian and God is like, hey, I've fallen short in these ways. Please forgive me. I know that you will forgive me as soon as I ask for it. So like, thank you for that grace, etc. So there is the asking that is still a part of like God's forgiveness, but it's like he also says, ask and you will be forgiven. Like it's very like, if you ask, you will be forgiven. It's not like, if you ask, I might kind of weigh how bad it is, what you did. And then depending on how you fall on the scale, I might forgive you. He says, ask and I will forgive you.
And that's because God is well above human, whereas humans have that hold up.
Yeah. So I think as much as we are able, and obviously we're not going to be perfect, kind of having the same heart towards a person of like, I have pre-forgiven you, but like in order to have a restored relationship with you, like
you have to.
I can't have that without some act of repentance here. And so I think there's a difference between like forgiveness and reconciliation, where like you can forgive somebody without being reconciled to them, without wanting to be in a relationship with them.
I think that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of is similar with like God, where he's like,
he'll still be pissed at you, but like
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the old, like Israel in the Old Testament and all the awful things that they go through over and over again, not to say that we don't do the same thing, but just using them as an example, God's like, hey, like, I'm pretty mad that you are explicitly going against exactly what I told you to do and not to do. And like, I'm here and my commitment to you is still the same, but clearly your commitment to me isn't that important. So like, if you're going to walk away, I'm not, like, you've made that decision and I'm here. If you come back and if you repent, and like, if you do, I'm here immediately. And like, my half of our like covenant is still fulfilled, but like, in order for that covenant to move forward, you have to do your half as well. So yeah, it's like freely offered, but not to somebody who won't accept it, I guess.
I hear you.
So yeah, I don't think that this is saying to just willy-nilly be like, oh, no problem that you did this terrible thing. Like, it's nothing. Instead, it's like, all right, I acknowledge this is terrible, but I am offering my forgiveness to you. You accepting it is a different thing.
Got it.
But yeah, those were good examples that you mentioned.
And we're talking about Usain Bolt next, is that right?
Fasting? That's funny.
Not my best joke, but I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, who's the current, is it still?
Barry Allen.
This guy? Who?
Barry Allen.
Isn't he like a comedian?
I'm getting... Sam, all right. This is me having patience with you. Barry Allen is the Flash.
Oh. I'm the worst.
So just,
I'm sorry.
so you know, I'm disappointed.
You're right.
Here, this is...
Does he have another name? Gordon. Flash Gordon.
No, God, that's a different...
No, different? That's different?
That's a different character.
No.
Flash Gordon is... Oh, that's different. I saw him at Comic-Con, by the way. No, different character. The Flash from DC Comics.
That's different than Flash Gordon?
Yes, this guy.
Oh. Well, they look pretty... Can you Google Flash Gordon? Do they look the same?
All right, let's see. Pull it up, Jamie. Flash Gordon.
Confusing. See, they look so similar.
Not really. Sam
They're
Jones.
both in red.
He's cool.
You can understand the confusion. Is he also fast?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then
Yeah,
that's
he's not. I mean, not as far as I know. I think I watched
his name is literally Flash.
Okay, yeah, as opposed to Barry Allen, who just is the Flash.
I see. Okay, I understand the difference now. No, we're not talking about him, but we are talking about fasting, which is different.
Of course, my mistake. Okay.
So you may have heard. Are you familiar with the word breakfast?
What about second breakfast?
It's a common. Well, second breakfast technically isn't breakfast because breakfast means break fast, as in the first meal that breaks your fast that you had.
Well, the second breakfast breaks the 20-minute fast that I have between first breakfast and second breakfast. So.
Yeah, I guess a fast doesn't have a minimum period of time necessarily.
Yes, of course. What, do we get to talk about 11sies next? And tea, then supper, and then dinner.
You should do a all-day Lord of the Rings marathon where you have all of those meals as you watch the movies.
Done it.
You have?
Actually, no. I've done all the movies in a day before, but I don't think we did that. Although that would have been a great idea. So now we got to do it again.
Yeah, we got to do it again.
Anyway.
But anyway, quite the opposite. Fasting is refraining from food. So this was like
So this is not the Fisher specialty.
No, we would not do this. So it can have many different forms, but in like the Torah, fasting was something that people did as a symbol of lament, or like Lent is happening right now between Ash Wednesday and Easter, and many people fast either from certain types of food like candy or fast from social media or whatever. Like
Is that why
fasting
you
from
haven't checked
something.
the Instagram reels that I sent you?
What was that?
Is that why you haven't checked the Instagram reels that I sent you?
Yeah, I don't have Instagram on my phone right
Okay,
now.
well, it's a lot when you get back to it, just so you know.
Okay. Oh, great. Looking forward to it, I guess. But anyway, so it can be fasting for a lot of things, but food is what they're referring to because that was kind of the common practice. And like Jesus in the wilderness fasted for 40 days, and there's the Ramadan fast happening right now, and other in like Islam and whatnot. Anyway, so this passage, I'll just read it. I'm rambling too much. He says, "When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." So you see some common themes between this and what we've already talked about.
Yeah, except for, let me go through this again just real quick. Hang on, what do you think? What's with the putting oil on your head?
I think that's just, when you haven't eaten for a while, maybe you don't look so good. So it's like, hey, bro, take a shower. Like, kind of similar vibes where you're not purposefully making yourself look worse than you actually are, so that other people can see that you're fasting.
Have you ever fasted?
I did it it's called a Daniel fast. So are you familiar with the story of Daniel?
Never mind.
Anyway,
No.
Daniel is Israelite, and then he is in exile in Babylon. There's the Babylonian exile in the Old Testament, so he's among all these Babylonian leaders, and they're like, "Hey, you're going to be our like soldier, I suppose, and like here's this diet you have to be on," and the diet involved like foods that as a Jew he wasn't supposed to eat. So he was like, "No, I'm only going to eat like vegetables and fruits, and like I trust God that he will still strengthen me as much as like I need to be for this role, even without eating these choice meats that you've put before me." So anyway, many people would do like a Daniel fast, like only eat fruits and vegetables and basically vegan for a period of time.
Okay, so not like a true fast, but
No, I haven't. Yep.
Wait, you've done a Daniel fast? You've never done a... Well, what would you... I'm just curious. What would you consider a real fast? Like,
I think like 24 hours.
You never done that?
Only if I'm super sick and can't.
I used to do that all the time. Like, I still want to get in a good habit for like summer, and this is me doing it for the selfish reasons, which is physical appeal as opposed to the biblical reasons. But I used to do 24 or like 36-hour fasts like once a week, and you feel awesome the next day. You can get past like the 16-20-hour hump. It's really good. Like, you feel amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I might have done like 40
biblical
hours.
reasoning aside, I think it's a relatively healthy thing to do if you have a healthy mindset about it. So
David Sinclair, we'll talk about that too, but that's also for health reasons.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing that can increase longevity if you do it consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm watching Survivor right now. I love Survivor. Great show. And a lot of contestants, like before the show, will do kind of intermittent fasting for like 2 days and then eat 1 day and then 2 days. But anyway, I think these were much longer term for religious practices and like as a sign of like lament or other things. I don't know that much about.
Was it the Buddha who fasted on like 7 grains of rice a day for weeks or something?
I don't know.
Mr. Beast tried to do it too.
Yeah, did he? No.
It's something along the lines of, I tried fasting for 30 days. And he actually did a pretty good job. He didn't make it to 30 days, but he made it to like 12 or 14 or something, which still, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And he had to do a video with Gordon Ramsay, and Gordon Ramsay made him a burger, and he just could not like turn it away. So
that's funny.
yeah.
Well, anyway, don't boast about that.
Well, okay, yeah, he wasn't doing it for biblical reasons, and
Yeah,
if Gordon
yeah.
Ramsay cooked for me, I think it'd be hard to turn down too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this case, you know, like you said, not necessarily relevant in this scenario, but as he's talked about, so these three things that we've talked about so far, giving to the needy, prayer, and fasting, are all three like religious practices that Jewish people of the day would do, and Jesus is kind of challenging them in saying, like, are you doing these things because of actual like show of devotion to me, or are you doing them because of the perceptions of others? And the point of doing these things is not to be seen by others and not to be glorified in yourself, but as a show of devotion to me. So he's kind of calling out selfish motivations for these three things of giving, prayer, fasting.
Okay. Was there anything else you want to touch on regarding fasting, or is this just...
No, not unless you have any other comments or questions about what we've talked about so far.
I think I asked this in the last episode, but this wasn't, the Sermon on the Mount wasn't where he fed a lot of people, was it? Because that would be kind of ironic.
No.
Okay.
That was a different time.
That would be ironic. All right. I was going to make another joke.
Why would that be ironic?
Is that a joke?
Well, I mean, he's talking about
Feeding people
fasting
while
in
you're
general. He's
preaching
not saying
fasting,
that like
you don't see the
you should
irony
fast
there?
right now. What?
Feeding people while you preach fasting, you don't see the irony?
Well, he's not preaching like, hey, y'all need to be fasting right now. I think he just says like, when you fast.
By the way, here's some bread. Okay. All right. Treasures in heaven?
Treasures in heaven. Keep your eyes peeled for a quote from Harry Potter. I think that's
Ooh,
you.
are we going to have like a pop quiz here?
Yeah, we are.
I'm pretty
Okay.
good at movie quotes, so
Turn your listening ears on and see if you recognize anything.
I'm going to put my thinking cap on.
Yes. Mhm. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Did you recognize any of it?
One of those is from Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Shit. Okay, hang on. Is it a direct quote or is it like a paraphrase?
It's a direct quote.
Do not moths and vermin destroy. It's not the last one.
No.
The eye is the lamp in the body. If your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. I'm going to go with number 2, and I'm going to lock in my answer.
What is number 2?
The eye is the lamp of the body.
And that is incorrect. It is for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the whole quote.
Oh, no.
Oh, that would have changed my answer.
Oh, it would have.
Yeah, well, because I was trying to remember where like Dumbledore said the whole thing. Like I don't. Okay, that would have been more clear. Of course, in hindsight, I say I would have gotten it right, but who knows? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Who did say it?
So it was on the gravestone in Godric's Hollow. There's actually, if you go to the next slide, there's a Reddit post that I screenshotted that's talking about the gravestones in Godric's Hollow. There's a fun fact that has the only thing it has to do with the Bible is these 2 verses that it references. But yes, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also was on Ariana and Kendra Dumbledore's gravestone in the Deathly Hallows. And in this Reddit post is just talking about, it says, this person says, this quote was most likely chosen by Dumbledore after realizing how his greed for the Deathly Hallows, i.e. earthly treasures, led to the untimely death of his sister Ariana. The idea here is to not put your heart into materialistic objects like Voldemort did in his Horcruxes or the Hallows, but to invest in things like love and friendship. So that was on Ariana Dumbledore's grave. So sad.
Well done, J.K. Rowling.
I know, right? And then on Lily and Harry Potter's grave, there's another quote that's also from the Bible that says, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death." And this is relating to Jesus dying on the cross and defeating death. But in this case, it is foreshadowing Harry's ultimate challenge in the series where he has to sacrifice himself in order to kill the Horcrux that is in him. Spoiler alert, folks. I assume you all have read Harry Potter. But anyway, yay for Bible quotes in the great Harry Potter, which has many biblical themes. So
Supposed to say spoiler alert first.
yeah, I know. Oops.
Okay, so that's interesting. So it wasn't even a character saying it. I just got to protect my reputation here.
No, it wasn't. I wish I could look up the specific.
Was that in the? I'd have to look at the scene in the movie. I'm sure that was written.
No, it wasn't in the movie.
So what was the book then?
It was the book, yeah.
Okay, well that clarification also probably would have helped. Just saying.
Yeah, fair enough. In the book, I think it just says, or in the movie, what does it say? Harry Potter, Godric's Hollow grave, parents' grave. My computer is so slow, so I can't find it. But I think it just has their like death, birthday, and death day. Maybe no, I think it does say the last enemy to be destroyed is death in the movie, but it doesn't include Ariana's gravestone in the movie at all. So
That was such a sad scene.
I know. I was just looking at it before this podcast and I was like, man, that's so sad. Like, poor Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, his parent, he's an orphan. That's so sad.
I mean,
We
he
forget
did-
about how hard his life is.
Yeah.
But anywho,
Well, good reference.
yes,
I appreciate that.
where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So, treasures in heaven. Do you have any reflections or reactions to this passage? Oh,
Yeah, so the title of the last slide was Treasures in Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So does that just mean like disconnect from all treasures on Earth? Like,
I don't know. Depends on what you mean by disconnect.
well, because how about just plain and simple? Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. What the hell does that mean?
I like to interpret it as like what you invest in is what you care about. So, like, for example, if I were to give a lot of money to a charitable organization, then I would care about the outcomes of that charitable organization. If I were to give to a political candidate, I would care about the success of that political candidate. If I were to give or invest a lot of money in a particular stock, I would care about the success of that stock. And so I think it's saying like, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Like Jesus this whole time has been talking about the kingdom of heaven as a very broad concept, but like investing in the kingdom of heaven, which means a variety of things. It could be investing in your relationship with God, investing in your relationship with other people, investing in bringing light to the world, as we talked about, like you are the light of the world, you are the salt of the earth. We talked about that last time. Investing in forgiveness and like things like that is where your treasure, what you're investing your time and your energy, and oftentimes even like your resources and money into, like giving to the needy, you'd be investing your money. that's where your heart is. So where you invest things is what you ultimately care about. And God and Jesus here is saying that, like, as you invest more and more, your heart will be more in tune with the things of the kingdom, as opposed to the things of this world that are temporary and that moth and vermin destroy and that thieves break in and steal. And these are all temporary things that aren't worth storing up your treasure in.
Got it. And I think that takes us to your next little cartoon, right?
When hoarders lay up treasures in heaven. Yeah. And then that all ties back together in his last statement in this passage. You cannot serve both God and money.
Okay. And that, yeah, obviously, like, I need to understand that more. Well, so, okay, hang on. Well, and this is difficult for me to explain, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Like, in my mind, money is important, but you can't be like a slave or a servant to it.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly can't compare money to God. God is the one you worship. Money is a tool to live and hopefully make your life a little bit smoother and better for yourself and those around you, but you're not a servant to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of a fair interpretation?
I think that's fair, but do you think that you can be a servant to money or a slave or worship money?
And still worship God?
Or just in general, like, do you think that
it's possible? Yeah, like greed is a real thing. Like, I think I don't like the idea of greed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ironic, very ironic, kind of in my position, right?
a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think God, this isn't disconnecting yourself from money, because, like you said, we all use it. It's a tool. It's a good thing. It's a gift from God in many ways. If you are wealthy, like, use it and do good with it, and that's not an explicitly condemned thing. There's a lot of rich people in the Bible that are regarded very highly, and then there's also a lot of poor people in the Bible that are regarded very highly, and there's not necessarily a direct relationship between, like, rich people are bad and poor people are good, but there is a kind of a theme that is addressed a lot, where money can be a very slippery slope to things like greed and to things like selfishness and not concerning yourself with the needs of the poor or oppressed and things like that. So it's meant as a yellow light, like, hey, this is a very tricky topic, and Jesus talks about money a lot because it is something that we all work with and that we all, like, have a decision point to make about how our relationship with it is going to be. And
yeah, and we were talking about Dave Ramsey earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about that too, and he always says, like, in his experience, money or having more money amplifies who you are. Like, if you're selfless to begin with and you suddenly have a shitload of money, you're still going to be selfless, and you might even be more selfless, and you can be giving money to different causes and charities and whatnot. If you like to have fun, if you have money, you're going to go kind of have more fun. You're going to spend it on experiences. But if you're a dick and you don't have money and then you suddenly get money, you're just going to be even more of a dick.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's true. Jesus says that same thing, but not exactly in those words.
That would be pretty
Jesus called me a dick.
Great play.
That was funny. But yeah, I agree. He talks about there's a parable of this woman who had, like, a single coin that was, like, all the money that she had, and she gave it away. And it was like one who could be trusted with very little can be trusted with very much. And then there's parables. We can talk about this if we do a money episode, but parables about somebody that, like, entrusted his money to 3 different people, and one person just, like, doesn't do anything with it. He buries it and then he gives it back when the master asks for it back. There's one person that invests it and multiplies it by 2. There's one person that invests it and multiplies it by 10. And the one that multiplies it is the one that is regarded the most highly. So there's lots of different discussions about money and how to engage with it. But yes, I think you're absolutely right that this theme of like how you steward little is a reflection of how you will steward a greater amount. And so this practice of your relationship with money is applicable to everyone, regardless of whether you have a lot of it or not a lot of it.
Forgive me once again. I was really confused because you were talking about how you steward a lot versus how you steward a little. Is that correct?
Stuart Little, is that what
I was thinking Stuart Little. And then I started thinking about Michael J. Fox and Back to the Future.
Great movies.
All great movies. I do think it's a little rude that the parents decided to adopt a freaking rat.
He's a mouse, isn't he?
Okay. The parents adopted a rat after they got a bunch of orphans' hopes up that they might get adopted, and they took the freaking mouse.
Yeah.
That was a little selfish right there.
I mean, it was a very humanoid mouse, so it felt okay. It'd be better if they like adopted a child and a mouse as a bonus. The mouse was like a pet they got.
No, that's a good point. I think that is a major plot hole right there.
Yeah. Yeah, what kind of adult?
Well, because like Alvin and the Chipmunks makes more sense because like
he
he
wasn't.
didn't go and choose the Chipmunks. The Chipmunks kind of chose him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, I'm gonna submit a complaint to the studio.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Anywho, yeah, Stuart Little. If you steward a little, you can steward a lot. Is that what the sequel is called? Stuart Lot?
No, I think it's just called Stuart Little 2. That's the one with the bird, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Little boat race.
That was very fun.
Yeah, okay. Oh my god, my childhood is coming back.
Yeah, we had one of those.
We
Sometimes
did?
I have a childhood memory and I'm like, oh,
And then you cry a
my
little bit.
childhood did have wholesome parts.
It did.
It did.
Sure did.
Yeah. It makes me very senti.
I do get that a lot. It looks like your next slide, we're going to be referencing a Swedish House Mafia song.
What?
Do you know the song Don't You Worry, Child?
Oh, yeah. Next. Baby, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be all right. That song has a name that isn't what you think it would be, right? What's the name
I
of it?
don't know. Who's the...
I don't know. It's by the Billy Mouth Bass. Big Mouth Bass. Right?
No, it's isn't that the Jamaican guy? Bob Marley? Is it Bob Marley?
I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Another guy who's kind of like Bob Marley.
Oh, it is about. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's called Three Little Birds, and it is by Bob Marley and the
fuck
Wailers.
it.
But I didn't know that it was called Three Little Birds
I
until,
wouldn't have expected that either.
which is funny because this passage also talks about birds. So we're just gonna jump
We are
right
on track here, Sam. You see, this
super
is
on track.
a circular discussion right here. Let's go.
So Jesus says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin, yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and was thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own."
I like the message, but far easier said than done.
Very poetic.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair takeaway. I was listening to a podcast about this, and they were like, well, this seems a little like hippie and disconnected, that Jesus is like, don't worry about it, like God will take care of it. And people are like, have you seen the world? Like, it's not this pretty meadow with rainbows and butterflies where everything is easy. Like, clearly there's hard things, and clearly I need to feed my family and clothe myself, and like these are legitimate worries to have. Like, why are you criticizing me for having these worries? Which I think is very reasonable reaction. I think this is true in the grand scheme of things. Like clearly God has placed all things on earth that we need. Like we have, and he's placed all things on earth that like the birds need and the flowers need, and even just the beauty of earth and how things grow and the seasons and weather and things like that. Like those are all very beautiful. And I think Jesus is trying to paint a picture of that. But I also think that Jesus is very fully aware of the difficulties of the world and how these are very like legitimate concerns that people have. But I think this was more of a poetic reminder of God as like a provider and God as a like generous host, with this earth being like a banquet that we are hosted at with everything that we need, in this like grand scheme of things, poetic kind of
Okay.
way.
Yeah, I think you're cutting out a little bit there, but hopefully you're back now.
Oh no. Did I break up a lot there?
Oh, I mean, I got the audio, but your video is like a couple seconds behind, so it was like watching a scary movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I get you. And I imagine this is probably the reason that, one of the many reasons, people who believe in God and worship God and believe in afterlife are a lot happier than non-Christian or atheist type people, and they worry less because God takes care of it. And I think that is a great attitude. And again, I know it's the whole purpose of this podcast, and I've said this many episodes. This is all about me learning, and I'm not an atheist, and I think I'm kind of working on becoming a Christian. But I also think that's like a big comfort thing. Like part of the draw is you want to believe it like for those reasons, but wanting to believe it doesn't necessarily add to the probability that it's correct. There's a logical fallacy, and I'm forgetting the exact term for it, but it's you believe it because it's comfortable to believe it. Mm-hmm. Granted, it does eliminate worry. I think that's great.
Like confirmation bias, is that kind of what you're?
Something like that. Let me see if I can find the exact term. Confirmation bias is a little different. Mm-hmm. Let's see. It's different. But yeah, yeah, it's there's another term for it. I'll have to dig into it, but it's one of the fun financial psychology terms that does actually kind of overlap with this. Yeah. Yeah, I get the point. Don't worry, be happy, as Mr. Marley would say. I'm still upset that you thought it was sung by a fish, and I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, it is sung.
The fact that you remembered Big Mouth Bass, but not Bob Marley. What the hell?
I'm sorry. I'm just a cultural disappointment.
Yeah, I've noticed.
It's okay. But yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's both like it feels unrealistic in a sense, but it also is a very peaceful image that I think does actually impact you in reality. And there's a lot of like Psalm 119, like the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He lays me down beside quiet waters. He leads me through green pastures. I'm totally misquoting that, but that image of like God as a shepherd, the image of God as a generous host, the image of God as like creator is all like while it is a very complicated image because it's not exactly easy to see in the brokenness of the world, it is still a true image and ultimately paints a picture of what Jesus is talking about through this entire sermon, which is the kingdom of God and the purpose of his good creation and what the final plan for it is. And the final plan and the like new creation that the Bible talks about, where everything is restored, will have like all of these things with no conditions, no like, oh well, why should I, how can I not worry? Like there's wars going on. How could I not worry? Like I got to put food on the table and I can't afford it. Or like there's a lot of legitimate worries, but this is painting the picture of like an eternal reality that will come to pass, that we can have faith in the here and now, that like even if we do have worldly worries, kind of going back to like where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Like, yeah, it's very reasonable to have worldly worries, but ultimately if you have this like deep peace that like in the long run this is God's purpose and plan, that even if like I have the worst, most painful life ever, I know that God will ultimately like restore and redeem everything, and I have faith in that can spur me to not worry about things happening in my life. But
agreed. Yeah, it is a good message, and I mean, if you can live worry-free, you're going to have good and healthy low blood pressure, not be as stressed.
Yeah, I think also this passage is very much focused on talking more about like who God is rather than describing the reality of the world, which feels almost like two different things, where you're like, okay, well, God is good and generous, but like look at the world. What does that mean? And Jesus is focusing on like, I'm describing God, the kingdom of heaven, and like, yes, clearly the world is like, in this world you will have trouble, but the disarray of the world is not due to God. The disarray of the world is due to sinful humanity and how we have all like in some way or another taken advantage of these resources that he has generously provided. And
I agree with that. I mentioned this. That's actually, in terms of belief, that's not a holdup for me. Is, well, why do bad things happen? Bad things happen, so there can't be a God. And I actually really totally disagree with that, because it's not his fault that bad things are happening. That's the cost of free will. You know what I mean? So, right. And I like free will too.
Free will is good.
It is.
Be robots without it.
Or you could just be an analyst at JP Morgan. Same thing.
Yeah, the podcast that I was listening to that was talking about this passage was there are a lot of parables throughout scripture that talk about like a banquet and a feast, and there's a parable that is talking about this master who's putting on this massive banquet, and he invites everyone, and they go out. Nobody shows up because they didn't decline his invitation, and so he's like, okay, go out in the streets and invite literally everybody that you see, come to my banquet. And this is a picture of God inviting us to his banquet, and we can accept or reject that invitation, but the banquet is still there and it's still plentiful. But this podcast I was listening to was just talking about kind of this silly metaphor of like the world is this beautiful party that is hosted by God, and he's providing all the best like hors d'oeuvres and the chocolate fountain and the beautiful venue and all these wonderful entertainment and wonderful things. But then when people start showing up, they start getting selfish, and then they're hoarding a big plate of the hors d'oeuvres in the living room, and you can only come and have access to my hors d'oeuvres if you are part of my like nation, or oh, I'm going to go hoard this resource over here, or I'm going to create these rules because I've all of a sudden set myself in charge of you. And then all of a sudden the party turns into this political and selfishly motivated mess where we can't really fully experience the generosity of the host in the same way that we could at the beginning. And I just thought that was kind of a funny, lighthearted way to express sort of this tension between like the abundance of the world and the generosity of God combined with the legitimate difficulty of the world as we know it at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, anyway, I know that was your last slide. Are there any other points you want to touch on regarding part 2 of the Sermon on the Mount, or was I do have a couple memes that I pulled together last minute, but they're probably not as high quality as my typical stack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have one more comment that I forgot to mention in regards to the Lord's Prayer that I was just reading about in this book. This is a great book. I'm only like 2 chapters in, but I already recommend it. So I know you like thick books. If you would like to read this, it's called Jesus Through Middle Eastern Eyes. And it's really good. It talks about a lot of things that we have heard and are familiar with about Jesus, and then kind of like is like, you know, this thing that you've always heard, that's actually not correct. So for example, it talks about the Christmas story and how like everything that we know about or have heard about the Christmas story and Jesus in this being born in this barn and like all that is not actually culturally true. And he gives a little bit more context to what Jesus's birth would have actually looked like, and some of the cultural implications of a lot of things that he says throughout his ministry. So anyway, a comment that he made and the author made in regards to the Lord's Prayer is that it begins with Our Father in heaven. And this address is like so brief in comparison to how you would normally greet somebody of like really high esteem. Like there would be some lofty introduction. Like an example that he gives is like, shucks, I wish I had this pulled up. The Emperor Caesar, Galerius, Valerius, Maximinus, Invictus, Augustus, blah, 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 blah. Or to the esteemed spiritual physician and religious philosopher, His Excellency, the only and most learned, who has no second in his age, da 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 da, like going through all this glorification language, but instead he's like, no, start your prayer just with like my Father or our Father, like very brief while still addressing the hierarchy in the sense of like, I respect you and esteem you, but also the relational aspects. So Jesus is bringing in the tension again between God's glory, but also his closeness. And then another fun fact is that this word Father that he states in this prayer is Abba, which is a Aramaic word, whereas a lot of the, like all the Hebrew texts and the readings that were publicly taught were all in Hebrew. And so this is just kind of showing like Jesus all of a sudden is including this new language into his teaching that previously was not like accessible. And so this kind of relates to themes of the Sermon on the Mount in general, where he's making the gospel and the kingdom of God more accessible than it was previously perceived to be in language and also in the things that he's teaching. And then also kind of, again, showing that theme of like relationship with God and like the ability to interact with him in a much more simplified way than we had previously thought.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for part 3.
Yeah.
I gotta see how the epic trilogy concludes.
Indeed.
I know there are probably some spoilers, but
yeah. Any final thoughts from you, or you want to jump straight into some funny?
I mean, I think we got most of it. If I think of anything, it's going to take us off track by another 30 or 40 minutes. So I gotta be careful. Yeah, I could show a couple memes. I mean, it's nothing great, so nobody get their hopes up. But I pulled these together in like 2 minutes just from Christian Twitter, which is like the really tiny sliver of Twitter/X that isn't just a bunch of degenerate traders. I got a very mild chuckle out of this one.
That is funny.
Let's see, what else do I got? This one's a little bit more relatable.
Yeah.
Like I'll
Give him an opportunity to have patience rather
yeah,
than
and then I just end up swearing in traffic and getting extremely vulgar and cursing God's name and oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing about prayer. You gotta, if you ask for something, you might just get it.
Yeah, that's God give me strength, and then you get some tough battles.
Yeah.
Maybe this one too. Also a little relatable. It's like when you hit somebody with "damn, that's crazy," and they keep talking. How else are you supposed to end the
If
conversation?
Kenny's having a sneezing fit, I get to give him like 3 bless yous, and then he's like, okay, that's enough bless yous. Like, you don't have to do it every single time. So I'm just gonna keep sneezing.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. I still always say Gesundheit.
That's a good one.
Uh,
Salud.
what about this one? Is this truly what Christian colleges are like?
I do have that perception of Christian colleges.
But God, leggings are a
But
gift.
as a disclaimer, I generally don't have an incredibly high perception of Christian colleges. But I haven't been to one, so I'm sure they're fine. But building a fence around the fence is what we call things like that, like with the caffeine rules.
Well, God bless the man who invented leggings, which I don't
They are
know technically what the definition of leggings is, but
true. There
if
have
it's
been
Spanx, I could credit Sarah Blakely, and I have a lot of respect for Sarah Blakely. Anyway, so
I
credit
don't
to
know
her.
who that
Too.
is either.
Spanx? What?
Sarah Blakely?
Do you know what Spanx are?
Yes.
She created Spanx.
Oh.
Yeah. I think she's had guest appearances on Shark Tank too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's a badass. I love her.
They are much less comfortable than leggings that just let it all out. But
Well, it's probably
well, it depends on the leggings. Anyway, Jesus had no comments about leggings.
yes. Thank you, Jesus, for the comments on leggings. We will. I do have questions. We could do an episode on leggings. I don't know if about that.
Modesty.
Anyway, yeah, we. I feel like we strayed off track a couple times, but I think we got back to the core of the Sermon on the Mount. Hopefully, what do you think?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stay
Yeah.
tuned for chapter 7, the final entry in the
Final
trilogy of the Sermon on the
saga.
Mount.
The Return of the Jedi.
Yes, or the Return of the King.
Even better.
I mean, it really is the Return of the King. Because Jesus is king.
Where do you think J.R. Tolkien got his title idea?
Yeah, he's pretty well versed in the Bible.
He's very clever. I
Very
heard
clever
someone talking
guy.
about C.S. Lewis the other day.
You were talking with mom and dad?
No, I heard someone talking about C.S. Lewis the other day. I forgot if I saw it or not. But it's nice because I'm not an expert there now, but at least I know what they're talking about.
Yeah, good guy. I need to continue reading like the Narnia.
I need to do that too. That's on my list of 50 books, and that's part of the reason I haven't read the Bible cover to cover yet.
I've been working on the Bible cover to cover since January of 2025, so it's still a work in progress.
How much you got left?
That much, the smaller half.
Okay.
So we're finally in the New Testament. The Old Testament was a bit of a slog, but we got through it. So.
We'll have to read the comic book version that you got me.
Oh yeah. Hopefully.
Well, Sam, I don't want to hold everybody up, but thank you for your time. It's an interesting subject, and I am looking forward to part 3, the Return of the King.
You bow to no one.
Oh, so good.
I know.
So good.
Anyway, thank you, Sammy. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I promise these will continue to improve. Hopefully, we'll get better, stay on track, and it's largely a me problem. But appreciate it once again. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop it in the comment section on the YouTube video. We'll try to address them. And Sam, we will see you next time with a good part 3 to the Sermon on the Mount, where the story concludes. Kind of sort of.
Wonderful. All right, to be continued. See you next time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.